Let's get started. Okay. Welcome to All About English Live. My name is Dennis Wilborn, and we have a live show every Saturday night at the same time. It's about 11 p.m. Korea time. It's 10 p.m. in China and Taiwan and Hong Kong and Singapore, all over the place. Um, and that's where most of my clients all are. Excuse me, is here again. I'm so happy to see. Excuse me. Hello to you. All right, we're going to jump in with this. And like I said earlier, today's discussion is all about how to use fun icebreakers to improve your productivity and your team dynamics. And that is, I hope you're going to have a good time. So if you don't watch this now, watch it later and enjoy, learn a lot, and use some of these things. And then when you use them, share what you've used in the comments of the video or send me a message if you have ways to get in touch with me. Notice I'm doing a different format today. Usually I've got the nice big giant slides, how to use fun icebreakers. Now you have a little tiny head. So big giant slides, little tiny head. Today I figured, you can read the slides and um, I'm just going to jibber jabber as we move along. Okay. All right. So I just want you to close your eyes and imagine for just a moment that you are sitting in a meeting room. You're waiting for everyone to arrive. You've got a few people that you work with but you really don't know each other very well. Okay. You're all here to work on a brand new project together, but the atmosphere is a little tense. Nobody is speaking up. Nobody's talking to each other. And yeah, so you're trying to get a feel for each other and figure out how you work, but at the same time, no one is willing to speak. So you're sitting there looking at the clock. As time ticks by, you start to feel more and more uncomfortable. You know you need to break the ice somehow, but you're not quite sure how to do it. You don't want to be the one to suggest something and risk looking silly or unprofessional. Am I right? I mean, I know that's a big worry that a lot of people have. And then suddenly, saved by the boss, the door bursts open, in walks the team leader, big grin on his face. He says, "Hey, everybody, before we get started, let's do a quick icebreaker and get to know each other better." Okay. So saved by the bell. If you don't have the boss jumping in to do that for you, you might have to be the one who saves the day. So let's take a look at some of the icebreakers that we're going to talk about. First one, let me change the slide size here. First things first, we call this the pointless question icebreaker. All right, the pointless question icebreaker. Let me continue with the story. So you and your team members and your team leader, you start to take part in the icebreaker, right? Uh, and as you do that, your tension starts to melt away. You learn more about each other. You start to feel more comfortable. That is the power of icebreakers. They break down barriers. We'll get into that. We'll get into that a little bit more. But let's talk about the pointless icebreaker. When you take part in the pointless icebreaker, you start to realize that you have more in common with your colleagues than you thought. Okay? Uh, I'll get back to that. Sorry, this is a funny comment. Yeah, you start to have more in common with the people that you're working with by participating in these icebreakers. The pointless question is one that works really well in a meeting, but it also works well in person. So one person says, "Hey, they'd like to go to Hawaii if they could travel anywhere tomorrow." That's the question. Where would you travel if you could go anywhere tomorrow? And you chime in with a similar response. "Yeah, I want to go to Hawaii too." Another person says they'd be a margarita if they were a drink. Yeah, because some people might ask, if you were a drink, where would you be? What drink would you be? And everybody laughs because they're thinking the same thing. So what drink would you be if you could be a drink? If you could go anywhere you could go tomorrow, where would you go? Hmm? So this is kind of a new way to see things. As you and your colleagues share together, you'll start to see each other in a new light. You realize that you all have dreams, you all have fears and desires, and that you're not really so different after all. So you start to feel more and more comfortable opening up, sharing your ideas, and collaborating with the group. And that's the point of the icebreaker. So, um, That's the real power of that particular pointless question icebreaker as well. It's a simple and effective way to break down the barriers, get to know each other better, and improve your team dynamics. So the next time you're in a meeting, or if you're a student, if you're in a class where you're working on a project, don't be afraid to ask a pointless question. It could be just what your team needs to build connections. So, what do pointless questions look like? I mentioned one earlier. If you could go travel, if you could travel anywhere tomorrow, where would you go? Hmm. And what would you do? If you were a drink, what would you be? See, these questions are really pointless. They don't mean anything to the meeting, they don't mean anything to the project, but they mean a lot to each person. You might also ask, I actually heard this as an interview question once. You might ask someone, if you were ice cream, what flavor would you be and why? Maybe you can leave a comment. I'd love to see that one in the comment. If you were ice cream, what flavor would you be and why would you be that flavor? We'll see. We'll see if anybody writes some things. So let's move on. So as you move on to the next icebreaker, show and tell, show and tell. You start to feel kind of excited because now you're getting to know each other. Now this is an icebreaker that you might remember from your childhood, and so you're curious to see how it'll work in a professional setting. So one by one, you and your colleagues will start to share your objects. One person brings in a photo of their family, another brings in a small trinket they picked up on vacation, and another brings in a book that's inspired them. As each person shares their object, you start to see them in a new light. You see what their values are. You see more about their personal lives, their interests, what drives them. And then you share your own object. You start to feel a little more comfortable opening up. You share maybe a small gift that was given you by your first boss. You explain why it holds so much meaning for you. And your colleagues listen attentively, and you guys can make a connection, right? That you never knew before. And then by the end of the meeting, you'll feel like you've gotten to know your colleagues on a really deep level. You've invested, you will be able to invest more in the project or in the whatever it is that you're working on, thanks to those first two icebreakers. Show and tell is great because you can even helps you to make some friends along the way. You know, and it doesn't matter. You could say like this pencil right here. I could pull out this if I don't have anything. Like, yeah, you see this pencil? This is the first pencil that I ever sharpened with a pencil sharpener for my son. I keep it with me. See how short that is? I keep it with me to remind me that it's always important to take time out of your busy day to do the important small things for your children and the other important people in your life. So that's there's my show and tell. See how it's powerful. Now you know a little bit about me and about my values. It's simple, it's effective in a way to build connections. So, and it makes meetings more fun, more enjoyable, and helps the team become a community, right? So don't be afraid to try that. Suggest it at your next meeting. Show and tell. I know it sounds a little silly, and you can really show anything as long as it's something that holds meaning for you. All right. Now, as the meeting starts to wind down, we try a new little icebreaker. We call this one Guess Who. Okay, this one is a really good one for building teams. Uh, your colleagues suggest this icebreaker. It's called Guess Who, and it sounds like a fun way to end a meeting, right? So your colleagues, they start to write down their odd facts, and you begin to wonder what you'll write down, right? What are you going to write down? Now, what are these odd facts? You don't have to be you don't have to have any really particularly interesting story, but you also don't want to be too boring either, right? So they ask you to write down an odd fact about yourself. Finally, you settle on an odd fact about your pet childhood, your pet from childhood, a goldfish named Sir Reginald. I don't know. I'm just making that one up. So as the game begins, your colleagues, they start to guess each other's odd facts. You learn that one colleague was once a competitive fencer. So what you're going to do is you're going to pull these little facts out of a hat or a bucket or something and read them. One person can read them, and everyone has to guess, well, who is that person? one person might be a competitive fencer, maybe a black belt in karate or taekwondo. Another one maybe has been skydiving once or twice. And these are pretty impressive stories. And you start to feel a little intimidated, even though you're getting to know your colleagues, because now it's your turn to share your odd fact about Sir Reginald the goldfish. Now, admittedly, everybody's going to think that's a little funny, right? So they start to ask questions about your childhood pet, and you explain that Sir Reginald was a bit of a diva, and that you spent countless hours keeping his tank clean and his water at just the right temperature. Can you imagine? But at least your friends will now know that you are a very meticulous person and takes care of those fine details. And you realize that you've had a lot of fun in a meeting that you thought of as boring at the beginning. You've shared a little bit about yourself, and now your team is starting to come together, and you're getting excited to see what the future holds. And that is the power of Guess Who. It's really fun. It's interactive. You learn more about your colleagues, discover interesting things, and, you know, who knows? You might even discover something about yourself. You never know what kind of fun things you're going to discover or uncover about yourself or each other. Okay. Now, I just realized when I started this program, I forgot to tell you about the bonus. I was going to say, don't forget to stick around until the end for the bonus icebreaker. Okay. And so, since this show is now winding down, we're going to start wrapping it up. It's time for the last and final bonus icebreaker that I promised. I call this one Two Truths and a Lie. Okay? Two Truths and a Lie. And it's kind of like the first one. It's kind of like, not the first one, it's kind of like Guess Who, except instead of you're guessing based on what facts you're reading out of a hat, you're guessing who the person is. In this case, you share two true statements and one false statement about yourself. And I want you to try that in the comments. Okay? Leave two truths and a lie in the comments. And obviously, I will take a swing if I know you a little bit. It's probably won't work, but well, it probably won't work at all. But that's all right. Leave two truths and a lie in the comments and practice this because it should be interesting. Who knows? I'll send you my guess as a response and see if I was right. You'll have to let me know. So everyone else will guess which statement is the lie. So two truths, one lie. So here's my statements. Here are my statements. All right. And there's no particular order here. I'll let you guess which one is the lie. Here we go. Number one, I was once in a bar fight with 6 drunken Brazilians. That's right. They're really short. Well, compared to me. Also, I have sailed across the equator 3 times, twice in the Atlantic Ocean and once in the Pacific Ocean. And the third one, I've won a hot dog eating contest, and I ate 50 hot dogs in only 10 minutes. And you believe that the Pepto-Bismol, or well, you don't have Pepto-Bismol where I'm from, but where I'm from in the U.S., Pepto-Bismol is an antacid for when you have an upset stomach. Comes in really handy when you're eating 50 hot dogs in one setting. So go ahead, leave your guess in the comments down below. Don't forget, if you have any questions about today's topic, now's the time to ask in the chat. And I'm going to get right into some of your comments here in just a moment. So just remember, icebreakers are a wonderful way to improve the teamwork, the productivity, and team dynamics in your teams and projects that you might be working on. So give icebreakers a chance. This is just 3. If you're looking for more icebreakers, send me a message. You can join me on Amazing Talker. The link is in the description of this video. It's also on the website, or it's on the channel page. And join me for a trial lesson. We can talk about icebreakers in the future. Now, what's really interesting, this is not just a way that you can incorporate into your meetings. This is something that you can put into your introductions and how you can meet people as well. You can meet people using icebreakers. I find that the two of them, the show and tell and guess who, and two truths and a lie, probably wouldn't work well as like first meeting icebreakers. They work great for breaking the ice amongst a group. But the first one there, the pointless question icebreaker. Sometimes if you want to get someone's attention, that's exactly what you need to do. Ask them a question that is pointless in any other situation. A great way to break the ice with people when you're first meeting them is asking a question. I've mentioned that numerous times, so many times I forget. But by asking a question, you instantly create a connection. As long as it's an open-ended question, if you say something like, "What time is it?" That's a question, but it's not going to get you the answer or get you the connection that you want. You need to ask an open-ended question, something that will require a bit more of a response from the other person that you're asking. But one of those questions could be one of the pointless questions that I mentioned earlier. So a pointless question is a great way to break the ice, just like a question about an event that you're at or something like that. So let me just jump into the comments. We got excuse me. Excuse me says Koreans be like, have you guys eaten? We're going back to the first the first introduction of the story here. Everyone's sitting around, no one's saying anything, and I know exactly what you're saying. Excuse me. Korean version of an icebreaker in a meeting, or even a greeting, oftentimes is 밥 먹었어? Did you eat? Or the polite way, 밥 먹었어요? 점심 먹었어요? Did you eat lunch or something like that? So those are common expressions in Korea. I wouldn't really call them icebreakers. They are questions, but they don't necessarily open up the conversation. Why is it that they don't open up the conversation? Because they break my number one rule. Well, not my number one rule. My actually number three rule. My number 3 rule, which is avoid single answer questions. Don't ask yes or no questions because you're not going to get a conversation going with those. So avoid single answer questions. So asking, did you guys eat? That's not a good question. You might ask, what did you eat for lunch? Or did you? So if the question starts with did or do, that's going to make an answer that starts with yes or no. Anyway, so avoid single answer questions. Now, I also asked, what flavor of ice cream would you be if you were a flavor of ice cream? And I've got excuse me saying choco and cherry. Excuse me, you forgot the second part of the question. What flavor would you be, and why would you be that flavor? Choco and cherry. Now, me personally, if you don't know me, I'm going to tell you, if I was a flavor of ice cream, I would be coffee ice cream. I would be coffee ice cream because coffee is just the right amount of pleasing to most people. Most people, if they like coffee, they love it. If they don't like coffee, they hate it. And that's kind of the way I like to be. If you love me, you love me. And if you don't love me, you really don't love me. Coffee is also very versatile. You can add milk to it and make it creamy. You can add sugar to it to make it sweet, or you can just drink it black and be bitter, just like me. So it changes its mood however it likes to be, or however you like it to be. It's very changeable. Choco and cherry. Excuse me. Choco and cherry, because it's a good combo. Okay, So you would be chocolate and cherry because they're a good combo. I agree. Chocolate and cherry do make a great combination, but I was looking for something that's more of a like a little bit deeper thought. But that's okay. If you were your own, if you were a drink, what would you be? If you could be any drink in the world, what would you be? Anybody? Anybody? All right. Well, it looks like we're going to have a short show tonight because, well, I'll tell you what I would be. If I could be any drink in the world, I'd be coffee. Are you sensing a theme here? I love coffee so much. That's why I signed up with Buy Me a Coffee to ask for your support. You can buy me a coffee and support this show. Support me by allowing me to uh, hopefully purchase a new computer, set up, and give you even better quality stuff, better quality productions. Well, it looks like the chat has gone quiet. Excuse me, is probably busy trying to think of what drink he or she wants to be. All right. Well, I want to say thank you very much for joining me. If you are always trying to find the right words to say, if you're always trying to find the next little piece of vocabulary to put into your brain and be able to use in conversation, if you want to practice those skills, you can join me on Amazing Talker. We can do one-on-one lessons. I'm also offering group lessons. And if you're interested in that, click the link down in the description or in the description of the channel and join me for a one-on-one class. We'll do a trial lesson and then we can arrange your schedule and set up a personalized study and learning plan just for you. Well, and that is pretty much all I have for today. So I want to encourage you to try these icebreakers anytime that you have a group project, a meeting, or any kind of thing where you need to improve the productivity and the team dynamics amongst your team. Remember, the pointless question, show and tell, guess who, and two truths and a lie are just a few examples of the icebreakers that you can use to build connections and make your meetings and your introductions and projects more enjoyable. And if you like what you saw today, remember, hit the like button, share this with your friends and family, and subscribe to All About English for more exciting and educational content. And mark your calendars for next Saturday night at the same time because I'll be back with a brand new show. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next time.